Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We sent her on a mission, another part of the country, to find out what is trending in the world of interior design, what furniture, what electronics, all of that. Well, we didn't send her. She was going anyway, but she's back. And we're going to talk about this thing called Market, which happened in the past week and change down in North Carolina. A lot of revelations. I find it interesting. We've talked a little bit off air here, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It gives you the vision of what you could be doing in your living space. And then we're also going to talk about the custom process that she utilizes to give you livable luxury. That's the name of her business, and she is Nicole Fisher. She's back with us. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very well. So when we last got together, we were leading up to this thing called Market.
Yeah.
Would I be right in saying it's like Fashion Week in the fashion world, and this is, to the interior design world, that's what Market is?
Absolutely. I love calling it Fashion Week for furniture. That's
Mm.
exactly what it is. It's everyone coming from all over the place, showcasing the latest and greatest and putting out their new stuff to the world.
Is it true with everything? Side note, disclaimer, I don't do politics, but with everything that's going on in our world, that there is a major accent, spotlight, push for American companies and retailers right now that you're seeing at this market.
100%. There is a huge push toward domestic manufacturing, domestic creation, where we can kind of take and utilize these existing factories and plants that are here and textiles that are made in the US and just all the goods that are made here. How could we utilize them and really lean into them as much as we can because of all of the climate that's happening. So much of what we technically used to source was overseas, but we're seeing such an increase in pricing that I did really try to look for and make relationships with people that are based in the US.
First thing I think of, unfortunately, is cost. Now, when we
Yeah.
start talking about US goods, my brain right away, cha-ching, raising it up there. What are we talking about? Should we be anticipating big increases, whether it was a tariff if you got it from another country or if you were getting it from the United States? Does it kind of equal out, or where are we at?
I want to say we're probably equaling out
Really?
in the end. The funny thing is even if they're manufactured here, let's talk a sofa, for example. The frame is built here, the fabric is here, but the guts of that sofa, the foam is sourced from overseas. The staples that are used in there is sourced from overseas. The springs, there's so much that comes from overseas that it's impossible to get 100% made furniture, at least here. It really
Wow.
is impossible.
Wow.
So if the fabric per se is not giving you that upcharge, the foam is probably giving you that upcharge. So maybe in a smaller scale, smaller quantity.
Mhm.
But labor here costs a lot more money. So it's just, where is that line? And we are the thing about the US is that it's a little more transparent, whereas this idea of tariffs for our European vendors, for example, is still a giant question mark. So we can know what we're paying right now, but by the time it gets through customs and like gets into our hand, we could be incurring costs that we had no idea were coming. So at least for like the US stuff, we know the cost, we're seeing it up front. So it's a little more easy to kind of understand from A to Z how it's like getting here and what it's going to cost.
Bottom line is you got to pay either way, whether it's coming from
Yeah.
overseas or coming here if you want to make some changes. Let's talk about those changes. What are some of the things that initially when you're going to this event that stood out? Like what blew your mind?
Oh, there was so much amazing stuff. There was just really, really beautiful pieces. There were a ton we love our vintage. There were a ton of vintage vendors there,
Okay, I'm going to
bringing
jump
in,
right in there.
yeah.
When we say vintage, what's
Mhm.
trending? How do we describe vintage? What for the most part in terms of the trend?
How do we describe
Like what
vintage?
era? We're talking 60s, 70s, Victorian, like what?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 18th century French. There was a ton
Wow.
of. Then we are certainly see a ton of mid-century. Um, and we get a lot of vendors trying to kind of lean into that much older English, early 1900s, I would say is really what you see here and what I saw.
Hmm.
Those are those kind of three areas.
I don't know why, but I love that period. Like the turn of the century. I don't know what it is. Like it just resonates with me in a weird way. Maybe in a past life I was there. I don't know. Um, just
You
there's
probably were.
you may be joking or not, but I agree with you.
Yeah, you
I
were.
I I have a thing for the 18 like the mid 1800s. I don't know what it is. It's just there's something there. Um, what about technology? What did you see?
There were such cool pieces, and I saw a few of them, which just totally blew my mind. There were these cabinets that had remotes that flipped up and the TVs would come in and out of them. They could be positioned at the end of your bed, they could be positioned against the wall. It's it's this idea of just being able to totally close away something. You open it up and you look and you see this gaggle of wires back there, and it's incredible how we're able to kind of tailor things to look so clean and beautiful. But all of they got the speakers, they have the TV, they have all the things that you would want. It's just able to, tuck right away.
I'm not being negative here, but don't you think we would have had this already? This whole, press a button,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, right?
I mean, I feel like I did see it like a long time ago, but it was just like in celebrity homes. Like these
Right.
things cost so much money and they were so innovative. And same thing with fashion. Slowly things start to like trickle down and become, more mass market. And we're able to see it at much more affordable cost. This isn't something that's just custom for, the one of one.
Hmm.
They're able to kind of go and be for the mass market here. So it was cool to see something like that in a piece that was so beautiful and doesn't necessarily look like, one of those kind of tech
I
pieces
get you.
because you
Yeah.
see them sometimes and they're like, they just don't have the
And
right look.
exactly. But it sounds like beautiful pieces that are fine by
Yeah.
themselves, but oh wow, I pressed the button and TV came out. Remember the cartoon The Jetsons?
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like. That was a cartoon from the 70s where Space Age Family, but everything
Yep.
was that. Press a button, things happen, TV comes out of nowhere, that kind of thing. Um, Other technology, anything else that stood out?
I think those were like the two things. Actually, the other thing that I'm seeing so much are these cordless lights there that don't need to be plugged in. Everything is just no longer are just lamps. They're sconces, they're outdoor lights, they're everything that just have these LED capabilities that just
Yep.
need to be charged. And it's incredible because you can all of a sudden put lighting where you would never be able to put it before, like on a shelf or, in a bathroom, like somewhere that's
I
just so
totally got
cool and
you.
unique.
We're building a studio in the other side of this glass in front of me right here, and we just bought those. And not only is it a lamp that is the battery lasts so long, first
Yep.
of all, but you just touch the top of it and you can change the intensity
Mm-hmm.
or you can change the color temperature. You want it more white, you want it more yellow. It's amazing. But again, that stuff, limited battery time. We bought it like a couple of weeks ago. Turned them on. I haven't charged them since. and we shut them off maybe in the
Wow.
evening. We use them
Yeah.
for, studio shoots and things like that. But yeah, to your point, it's pretty amazing and not expensive.
Right.
The other part of it. They can do this really cheap, $20. You have a lamp. It's cool. Even in restaurants, I'm seeing that more and more now
Yes.
at tables, low profile lamps, but just enough light to maybe see a menu and things like that and just set the stage. And they're not walking back there recharging those things all the time. It lasts a long
Yep.
time.
Totally. And also, it's much safer than a candle, right?
Point.
So it's almost, just take replacing a candlelight in my opinion.
I agree. And doesn't look cheesy because the candle's beautiful, right? But then, then we gravitated over to the battery operated ones, and they're all right, but they're kind of cheesy. These lamps are kind of classy and
Yep.
more light. It projects it down, just a whole different vibe. This is what you do. You source, you shop, you identify trends, what's available out there. This is all part of your custom process with Livable Luxury. Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah. So the custom process we love to do because if we find a beautiful frame that we love, but it's just not the right size for your space, that's where this custom process comes in. And we're able to customize that to the inch to make sure that it looks exactly how it should. And we have consistently been using manufacturers throughout the states, trying to find the right people that are going to not only execute the vision, they're going to do it in a way that's cost effective, that's comfortable, that is it really done in a good amount of time. We're talking 8 to 12 weeks
Hmm.
max, and really be able to, you know, package that up, get it to a receiver, and it should look like the drawing that we gave to you. That has been a very challenging part of, what we do because we have such high standards and we have clients that have very high standards. So the cool
Hmm.
thing about this, being at market this week was I actually met a new person and I was able to sit in all of their beautiful stuff, know it's comfortable. They told me how long it was going to take. They were down to 8 weeks and could basically customize anything we need. So I just love making these kind of relationships because so much of what we do has to go from drawing to execution.
When you provide drawings, are we talking about renderings? Are we talking about drawings, or it really depends on the project?
Depends on the project. I mean, sometimes it's on a napkin, sometimes, and then we're just super inspired by something, and it's just,
Hmm.
really quick. If we're at the point where we're getting pricing from, our vendor, ready to place the order, that usually has to go through more technical process. So we'll put that in CAD or we'll put that on the computer and visually get it to a point where they understand what we're talking about. But we do have them kind of create their own technical drawings because they need to make sure that from a construction standpoint, it's sound, it makes sense. It's, they're taking into account the build of that. I'm not. I'm taking into what it looks like. So, we each have our role, but the technical part is extremely important there.
You love that, don't you? Oh, coming
I
off,
love what? It's
there's
the
you have
best.
a napkin in front of you, and we're looking, I'm describing, I want a TV cabinet that looks like
Yeah.
it's from 1975, right? I'm going hypothetical here, and I want the TV to come out of it, and I'm thinking about this and thinking about that, and we're just starting with an idea, and now
Totally.
gi- you're researching what does a TV look like in the 1970s, whatever, and making
Yeah.
it happen. That's gotta feel good.
It's the greatest feeling when that packaging is unwrapped and you see that little speck of thought that was in your brain come to life. It's
Yeah.
just it's the best feeling.
I can't imagine. Like it's having a piece of clay and being able to sculpt it if you're that talented
Yeah.
to come up with something, and then that's good enough. But then to make somebody else happy with that and potentially make their day, make their year. This is, they're going to see it every single day, knowing you have that
Right.
in mind. And it started from just a thought and a pen on a napkin. Like, whoa, like super cool.
Yeah.
Do you have different vendors you work with?
Yes, we have vendors based on what they're really good at executing. So some people will go for beds, some people will go for sofas, chairs, etc. So it really depends on what we're trying to do.
How about an example? Maybe something that somebody described to you and then you made it happen. Anything
Yeah.
gonna stand out for you?
So we have a project that we just finished in Westchester County, and the client had a very skinny, long living room. So the idea that we came up with was to have these multiple seating areas and zones. And to do that was to create this center sofa that faced front, back, and side. So the way that it sat, you could kind of use it in three different areas.
Hmm.
So that was kind of just a drawing.
Wow.
Not only that, but we,
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm gonna jump in here. I'm
yeah,
visualizing the sofa,
yeah.
front and back. So is it is there a back on it that's changes or there is no back on the sofa? Just getting
There's
the visual.
a mutual back. So there's one back that sits one way and then also sits the other way.
So what we're saying is, let's say you have the sofa. I would think the back would be in the middle, so it can be.
Correct.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
Not only that, it had two different fabrics that had to work on the back and the seat. And then to top that off, it had to be wildly comfortable for not only entertaining, but also movie watching, because one of those sides was facing the television.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah.
So you had the side that's facing the television, that was there more comfort in that direction?
There was more comfort in that direction.
Boy, this got complicated in a good way.
It got really
Like I never
complicated.
expected. Uh,
This sofa was like giving me night sweats. I like could not think straight when they were making it. And this is one of our custom vendors that are amazing, but they do a ton of hospitality. So they do a lot of hotels. So they're used to making things that are going to last, not
yeah.
necessarily things that you're going to use every day. So finding that balance on the fill and how it should sit, not for hotel guests, but like somebody actually living there, was challenging. But
Hmm.
we certainly got there in the end. We had so many Zoom calls about this couch and executing it, getting it inside, how it was going to fit and work. But let me tell you, when they unwrapped I think I shed a tear on that one.
Wow, I get you. And that is talking about unique, unique. Like it's not just, give me a couch and I can sit either way, front or back. No, it's got to be comfortable this way. You have limited space, on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, I can't even imagine having that responsibility because now weeks go by, you have your client waiting. God forbid they open up the wrapper. It's like, oh, this is now what?
Yeah.
It's all like
Yeah.
back to square
Hmm.
one. I didn't even know how you remedy that, but I guess that's why, with your experience, taking the time, making sure that you've got their vision and it's all set to go, and then you trust your vendor of what they're going to do with that.
Yep.
Hmm.
Honestly, that's what you pay for with a designer. It's not just like a an aesthetic. You pay for my relationships and my
Yep.
ability to work with someone to execute a vision. And like that's really what is so special about the designer that you hire. It's who they know and who they're able to work with to like make a vision come to life.
It's like when somebody says, "Yeah, I got a guy. I got a guy." Like you do, like guy or girl, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's not like somebody comes to you and you're like, "Yeah, we could do that." And now you're like, "All right, got to Google, got to find somebody quick, got to make them happy." You mentioned hotel quality
Yeah.
for durability, etc. Do you sometimes take that mindset? Because I remember when I renovated a backyard about 10 years ago, but even less than that, and it was a big deal. I thought resort. That's what I went in, manifested. I want it to feel like a resort, but also have the durability in terms of the fabrics, things I buy. Yeah, it costs a little bit more, but I knew that it was going to last. It was going to be uh, UV safe and all of that. Do you sometimes have that mentality of the durability when you work?
Oh my gosh, every time. We
Mm,
work, 90% of our clients are families. They have young kids, they have pets, they have, they have people over, they drink wine. I don't like my spaces to feel like museums. They might look really fancy or look like they cost a lot of money or look like a museum, but they shouldn't feel that way. You should be able to live there and live there comfortably.
yeah. It makes a big difference in terms of the quality and fabrics. And I finally saw that when I last moved and I bought a sofa, sectional, whatever you want to call it, in a rush. I
Yeah.
wasn't really being intentional about the fabric. It fit, it got the job done. But even now, looking back 2 years, in one section, and I don't even have people over that often. I'm usually out doing stuff. You can see it wearing, and it isn't even used that much. So that, I know the fabric, and it wasn't super expensive, but it was kind of up there. But that's because I didn't hire somebody like you. I will never do that again. All of that. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
You would take a
It's
look at
not.
it. Steve, this fabric's not going to last. Come on. Well, what do I know? I don't know. Look at the price tag. It's
Right.
it's got to be good. Look what I paid for it. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Absolutely. Sometimes clients will very much be sticker shocked on some things. And I tell them you can buy it once and it is going to last you, or you can buy it 5 times over the next, 10 years. And those are,
Yep.
when you're working with us, you're working with our vendors, you're paying for that quality.
It is so true, and I really see it in action now. I'll be buying another couch in the next year. I'm serious. I know it because I'm not liking it. And you just brought back a memory. I bought the couch before that was a much more high quality piece and set, and it lasted like 10 years. And it wouldn't even look like it was worn like that. And I had kids
Yeah.
bouncing all over it at that time. It does make a
Right.
difference. How do we find you? How do we connect?
You find me on Instagram, BNR Interiors, or our website, bnrinteriors.com. And you can check out some of those projects we're talking about today on the portfolio page.
You have so many great pictures, so many great projects from all over the New York metro area, from the Hamptons to where you are, Hudson and such. But you can work with anybody anywhere thanks to
Yeah.
technology, right? If somebody wants to consult with you, pick your brain and all of that, you make it fun. I feel like I was walking next to you during your trip to market in North Carolina. I really do. Like I feel like
Oh,
I
that's
was there.
awesome.
Really cool. Thanks for taking me with you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thanks for
Next
being here
time,
today.
got to charge your way into your trip.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We'll catch up next time.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.